Hello, and welcome back to the Catch-Up. It's been a couple of weeks. We had Hammy G on the last episode and boy, it was funny. He just brought his humour. He is definitely one of the funniest guys I have worked with, and coming in second, I think, on the humour scale. Maybe that's a bit rich, but it would be you.
I actually take no offense to that whatsoever. Hammy is hilarious. Very good episode with Hamiso. Good to be back. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I was just talking to Guru off camera saying that I know he doesn't like coming on the Catch-Up. It's so obvious because he finds a reason not to come on every week.
I love the Catch-Up. I am always here for the Catch-Up. I keep on getting shafted to reserve grade for other Pelicans like Hammy, Winston with a Y. They all just keep coming for the
Winston
spot.
with an I.
Winston with an I, of course. Now, speaking of Winston, he's coming to the CBA Bowl on Thursday night.
He is. So just so you guys know, the Catch-Up this week is a bit of an Origin special. We've been talking to you guys in the Roo crew. There's loads of Origin hot takes for Game 2 that we thought we would have a bit of a chat about. And it's an opportunity, I suppose, to throw your comments and your hot takes in the comments as well, because we can keep talking about it. But with Origin Under-19s Game 1 coming up, we've got that this week, which we're going to be at, and you'll talk more about it in a second. And then we've obviously got Game 2 the following week. So there's loads happening in the Origin sphere, and it's like our Super Bowl. We love the Origin.
This is the best period of the Rugby League calendar by far and away. I absolutely love this period. So as you've seen, guys, the CBA Bowl Thursday night, merch is already on its way out or with you. I know a lot of you have already received it. So all that merch on its way out. Some more people have put in orders today and yesterday and over the weekends. They'll be going out today as well. But we will be at Leichhardt Oval on Thursday night. So we've got the women's game kicking off at 5:45, New South Wales versus Queensland Under-19s women's. Then we've got the men's game at 7:45. And it's going to be unreal out there at Leichhardt Oval. We've been working with the NRL, which has been great. We've got a heap of tickets for people in the Roo crew, so they'll be getting free tickets to come out and join me out there. And then there is a link in the description below that if you would like to come and join us, I've got a link for half-price tickets for all of you. You can buy as many as your little heart desires. Link is in the description. Come and join us. Food trucks, brewskis, footy, it's all going to be on, and you get to see the next generation of superstars. Let me ask you this, Kat.
Go.
Scenario of Thursday night. Okay. We're at Leichhardt Oval. There's going to be a line of food trucks. I'm a bit of a Gozleme sort of guy. Where do you sit? What's your go-to food truck feed?
It's a really good one. And the thing is, I don't know if the food trucks are going to be the same as what I've previously experienced at Leichhardt Oval, but there was I think there was like a dumpling kind of. Yeah. Okay. And in the right scenario, I love dumplings. Big dumpling fan.
Not sure if there's a wrong scenario for dumplings, to be honest
Good attitude. With you. But I'd back the whole Gozleme thing because I just don't think you can go wrong either.
Beck about 2 years ago brought a packet of like frozen dumplings once and chucked them in the freezer, and she always used to like just like every few months she used to, for a meal, she used to just throw them in a pan and heat them up.
This is literally what I did for lunch yesterday.
Oh mate, I do it all the time now.
It's the best.
They are the best. Yeah. They are criminally underrated, especially the at-home ones. They're hectic.
They're so good. What flavour?
I think they're prawn, I want to say.
Oh, okay. I do pork and chive.
I think had I done the shopping ever, I would probably go pork, but Beck likes her. The prawn ones are still mad, but you get a little soy sauce, bit of chili.
Sriracha.
Thanks for coming. Sriracha,
Yeah.
A very good feed. So, I dare I say, and I know we're talking a hot take today, and I'm going to give you my first one for the evening. I reckon there's every chance I go to more than one food truck on Thursday night, so brace yourself.
Well, crazier things have happened.
Crazier things have happened. Yeah. And the CBA Bowl is going to be unreal. Make sure you're out there. I'll be on the hill. Matty the Waterboy, he's coming as well. So looking forward to having him. The short ball's coming. We're going to do a preview with him a little bit later in the week. The great Winston's going to be there as well. So there's going to be a heap of content creators out there. And
you know what that means if Winston's there?
What's that? I know what he's having.
Hot dogs will be consumed.
I hope that. They're surely.
Yeah.
They'd have to.
I don't know where Leichhardt Oval hot dogs rank on his current scale.
I reckon they would what's his ranking system? What does he do? Oh, what's it called? Fuck.
I've actually forgotten.
Like he does Let's Trots. Jesus,
yes, how many Let's Trots?
I was just imagining Fox about to speak and I couldn't remember what he always says. It's like remembering what Elmo says.
Let's Trots out of 10.
Yeah, we'll see how many Let's Trots you get. I might even get stuck into a hot dog. The last hot dog I had was in Las Vegas.
How did that rate? I feel like
It's actually
hot dog
mad.
because it's
It
such
looked
an American
shithouse.
food.
It looked awful, but it was hectic.
Yeah.
It was mad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they scare me a little bit.
Oh, yeah, they can. Yeah, it didn't look natural. I'll tell you that much for free. But yeah, Thursday night, CBA Bowl, Leichhardt Oval. If you're in the Roo Crew, you can email the address we've got in there to get some free tickets. We are going to be on the hill. So I'm going to be on the Wayne Pearce Hill, father of Mitchell Pearce, who, funnily enough, next Wednesday, Kempy and Bloke in a Bar are doing a live reaction straight after State of Origin. And Kempy's like, oh, are you able to join us? I was like, oh, mate, I do my content, my podcast, which my audience loves, so I'm going to stick to that. I've been replaced by the great Mitchell Pearce.
Wow.
He's taking my seat next Wednesday night. So an Origin great, Mitch Pearce. So that'll be a good watch for you guys. You'll have my content as well, a heap after Origin. But speaking of Origin, Kat,
Yeah.
is it time?
I think it's time that you and I catch up on some of the Roo Crew's Origin 2 hot takes.
And when, I had a little scan over these hot
Yeah.
takes, isn't Origin just the best for just scat behaviour?
Oh, 100%.
People will just
hello,
turn
game
on each
one.
other in a heartbeat. It's
Game
great.
one, we've already turned on each other.
100%.
And I think what's funny, it's almost ironic that we turn on each other based on team selection as well. As in, everyone in New South Wales will disagree on something. I feel like the Queenslanders tend to have a bit more harmony in that sense because their team's slightly more straightforward.
You know what? They do have more harmony, but I feel like this year they've probably had less harmony than what they've had in previous years. I've seen a lot of Queenslanders not sure about Dave Fafita missing out. This Kurt Capewell selection, a lot of people are up in arms about as well. So it's interesting. It's very like Cobbo being dropped, obviously.
Oh, well, we were talking about it before because I thought Coppo was such a we said defensively not so much, but he did stand out in game one as one of their kind of key playmakers, I suppose. But there you go. He got cut. Billy Slater's cutthroat.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I respect so much about Billy Slater is that he has standards that you have to make. And I know Billy Slater come out and said, Cobbo's been having some pain-killing injections and everything. I personally think it has a lot to do with the handful of errors he made on Friday night against South Sydney. Because Billy Slater in his career, him, Cam Smith, Cooper Cronk, they would take a lot of pride in going back to clubland after Origin football and playing their best footy. And I actually think, and once again, I could be wrong, maybe it's tinfoil hat, and if so, shut the fuck up, guru, which is fair. I reckon Jermaine Hopgood took that a little bit too literally. I think he came back from Origin 1, shouldn't have played for Parramatta, did, and now he's injured himself. Trent Barrett came out and said the other day we probably shouldn't have played him.
Shouldn't have done the back.
From what I know about Jermaine, I reckon that would have been him trying to make a statement to Slater going, I'm a true Origin player. I back the fuck up from Origin. And he's probably hurt himself there. So it can go against you sometimes. But yeah, I think Slater, the Fafita thing into this Sell and Cobbo, setting some wild standards.
Definitely. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Wanting to back it up and show that you can play for your club right after a game as intense as State of Origin, but then injure yourself.
And it is, it's probably one of my hot takes. It's going to be interesting to watch. Like you look at Slater, didn't pick Fafita in game 1, gets to game 2 and picks Felice Kafusi, Kurt Capewell. On the extended bench, he picks Trent Leroux, Helam Lukey, all second rowers not named David Fafita. I just think it's interesting that Madge obviously didn't pick Latrell game 1, but has now picked him for game 2.
Yeah, the photo of them sitting next to each other at the 10-year anniversary of that premiership win was pretty good. I think it broke the internet for a period of time after.
It's very contrasting approaches though. It is. And I still think Latrell can come out and be the best player on the fucking field, and I'm so excited to have him.
Speaking of that, that's somewhat where my hot take is going for this one, which is probably no surprise to anyone. But let's kick off with some of the comments from the Roo Crew first before we dive into our own hot takes. Let's start with Jordan Zadros because I think this one is pretty spicy. He says that it will be the highest scoring Origin match in a while, 50+ points.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect in Melbourne. I feel like Sydney games, you can generally expect a low scoring clash. I know we didn't get that in game 1, but it was obviously 13-12.
Yeah.
Melbourne games, I don't know what to expect. And I think that I felt like in game 1, New South Wales picked a very defensive side. I don't think we've done that in this game. Obviously, bringing in Latrell opens things up. I think, I love the inclusion of Mitch Moser, but I think bringing Connor Watson shows a bit of a shift in how they're going to play.
Yeah.
I can see there being a lot of points. I can, but I think Queensland have gone from, like, when you see Kurt Capewell, Felice Kafusi, not the most mobile guys in the world, not the fastest guys in the world. It feels like there's been a bit of a shift between the two sides. In saying that, the other player that the Queensland Maroons get back is Reece Walsh, probably the best attacking player in this competition almost. So read into that what you will. But yeah, I can see a world where this is a high scoring affair. We always look at Origin as low scoring, tough, close, which I think it'll still be a bloody tough game of football. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of points scored. And I'll tell you what, if we do end up in a shootout of points, it's going to be so entertaining.
Oh, I know. I kind of hope it replicates what happened with the women's game too.
Yes. Yeah.
In the way that New South Wales so confidently won that first game, the way that Queensland won our first game. But I don't know. Let's see what New South Wales can pull out of the bag.
Oh, God, it's exciting.
It is. Now, this one I really like. This one is from Aiden Tremathick. He said, Guru to give Gus Gould like pre-game speech. What's the likelihood of that?
I've been known to give a Gus Gould Origin speech to the crust delivery guy when he arrives with my pizza.
Is that why the delivery guy keeps changing every time?
Every single time, yeah. Won't come back. Maybe a Guru Phil Gould speech.
Can we get a little insight into what the speech would sound like? What would you, if you were in the rooms with the boys, the locker room, right before kickoff, they've just done warm up. This is the final moments, the last time that you can speak to the boys before they head out on that field. What do you say to them?
I'll tell you what, if I was to do like a Gus Gould speech, I think it'd be more so around the Origin idea, not around to the team. Like Gus used to do these iconic speeches about Origin. I used to fucking love them. They were unreal. And it was sort of like Origin has no finish line. Yeah. When you think you've got nothing left, you find that little bit extra and just those little.
But that fires the boys up.
100% it does.
And I think you could do the Gus Gould thing, but you could do it in a way that shapes New South Wales.
I'll tell you what, I would not be anywhere near as good as what people would think I would be at it. It's quite a, when you think about, like, even when I was a coach, like, and you only have those couple of times a year that you can really try and rev a team up, like, it's very easy to go too far with those, and you just look like it's a real art form. And like you have a look at Shane Flanagan over the last few weeks, like he's used some good ones on his Dragons and they've reacted every single time. And you look at when he's used those over the last few weeks to get wins against Penrith and whoever they played last week, they then came into this Manly game this weekend, a game they should have won. I'm sure Flanagan would have been like, okay, this probably isn't the time to use one. This might not just be our day. But yeah, man, I like you look back to some of those, like those clips of Phil Gould, and you know, I know there's only 3 Origins a year, but I don't know. I felt like for my entire childhood that like it's 3 speeches a year. I feel like he did it for 10 years. Like that's like 30, and every single one of them were just absolute fucking crackers. I don't know how he kept finding. He's a freak, Phil Gould. And I know that, you know, we sort of take the piss out of him on Twitter and everything, but he is an absolute ornament to our game.
It makes me wonder though, where have you given your most, you know, Phil Gould like speech in your life? Is it at your wedding, or is there somewhere where you've had to stand up and be really just deliver the speech of your life?
When I was coaching, we had a grand final at Leichhardt Oval, funnily enough, a couple of years ago. Did a decent one there. But it's also like whenever I'm in those moments, even like my wedding speech, like I don't remember what I said. Like it all just happens. Did you
write it before, or did you just let it happen?
I wrote a couple of notes and I lost it throughout the day, so I just had to wing it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I actually didn't miss any points that I actually kind of rate myself as a speech giver.
Yeah.
From that point of view, like I've got a good memory for that sort of shit, so I was fine. But yeah, I never really remember them after I do them. I've had to give.
That's so normal though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did debating and everything growing up.
Yeah.
And I quite enjoy public speaking. I think public speaking in front of like 1,000 people I don't know is way less intimidating than in front of like 2 people that I know. Like it's the intimacy of that. I just can't deal with it. But I've given a few speeches in my time, and especially the debate kinds. I could not tell you what I said. You just know you got to deliver it in that moment, and I'm just like boom, boom, boom. Point 1, point 2. Here's everything to just like win it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what I said.
Yeah, no, I had to sort of watch back my wedding video to remember what I said.
Hopefully nice things.
Yeah, no, I was happy with it. So but I still think that like people look back at those feel good things and we enjoy them and we remember them. But I think when you actually think about how many times he did it and how many times he nailed it, it's unbelievable.
No, for sure. The pressure of delivering, and also people are expecting something of that level. It's not
like we expected every time we saw him get that microphone, he had one, like they were all done live too. They weren't pre-recorded. They were all done live. Some of them he was in the pissing rain with an umbrella. Like it just, he had one shot to do it. And like they weren't 15 seconds. They were like 90-second speeches and he would get every single word spot on. He would never get muddled up. He'd never screw it up. He would just deliver it every single time. And that's in front of a stadium, sometimes in the pissing rain. Like he just, and every single one of them was different. There was never one where I was like, oh, that was very similar to last Origin or last year.
Yeah.
Each one was their own unique
because you
thing.
would remember.
Bloody oath I would. Yeah. But it, like that was, I remember like that was during the Origin period where we couldn't win fucking a coin toss. So it was almost the highlight for me during Origin was listening to Feel Good. And you would just be like, oh shit, I'm ready to go. I'd be slamming crust pizzas, getting into Keith Urban's, and then Gus would get on. And like I still remember like when I was a teenager, we all used to get together, all my mates. So there'd be like 15 of us in the room and everyone would go silent for that speech.
Wow.
Every single, like there was, and if you spoke, you'd get the shit beat out of you because it was just shut up. This is the moment. And this was like back then sort of before you could like rewind TV and go back and watch it. So it was shut the fuck up.
Yeah, we got one
and
moment.
listen to Gus. He's got one shot. We've got one shot to hear this.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Wow. Well, speaking of one shot, I think you predicted this call up, which is Connor Watson, but big deal to debut. And I think they're somewhat playing for the jersey too, right? You know, trying to earn that spot and keep it. This is from Sunders. He said that he thinks Connor Watson will make a massive impact.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Connor will have a huge impact. I was speaking of, like Connor Watson is very mixed feelings about his selection. I personally, I feel super confident that Connor's going to do well. I think he is. I think he's made for this arena. He is dynamic, he's quick, but he's also fucking tough as nails. And I think people, because Connor's, you know, a very good looking rooster and whatnot, I think they sleep on just how tough Connor is. You know, even this year, like I've watched him play a couple of New South Wales Cup games where he plays 80 minutes straight in the middle. Like even in New South Wales Cup, like, yeah, it's not first grade, but like smallest guy on the field and he just fucking goes at it. I've said it a few times, but like in Vegas at the start of the year, caught up with Connor over there. He'd literally found out a few hours before that he wasn't going to be in the round one side. So that's the other thing you got to remember with Connor Watson and Angus Crichton. Round one, they weren't in the Roosters team. They were playing reserve grade to now being like Angus Crichton's now the best back rower in rugby league. Connor Watson's Connor Watson's played 7 games of footy in 2 years. Like he didn't play at all last season. He got injured in like January. Didn't come back all year to the point like Connor was actually around the Origin period last year. The Roosters had to make a decision. Do we bring Connor back this year or do we wait till next year? And because their season was going so shit, they decided to leave him till next year. So they didn't lift his rehab to a point to get him ready to play for that season. But then the Roosters went on that huge winning streak. They ended up going to week 2 of finals. But they didn't see that coming. So they sort of thought, you know what, we'll just leave Connor for next year. So he's played very little rugby league, Connor, but he is just determined. And, you know, I find it unbelievable, Kat, that, you know, the amount of people that jumped down Michael Maguire's throat in game 1 for picking a 4-forward bench and not having a utility. And then he literally picks the ultimate utility.
Yeah.
Like name a guy that can play more positions at a higher click than Connor Watson and I'll fucking give it away. And people still jumping down his throat. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like anyone that doesn't like the Connor Watson pick, I think it's got more to do with that he's from the Roosters than anything else, is my opinion. I know with Beck's family, who are huge South fans, that's definitely where it comes from. But yeah, I think Connor's going to have a huge impact. I think he plays 20, 25 minutes if everything goes to plan. He might jump on at 9, jump on at 13. I think that it'll be a very, very big moment when Connor Watson comes onto that field because Queensland will be on high alert. And I feel like in Connor Watson, we have an answer to Harry Grant and Ben Hunt.
Yeah, I agree.
Which excites me a lot.
I agree with that. And I do think you're right about it being more of a Roosters thing than a Connor Watson thing, because I don't think he ever received that much negativity when he was at the Knights.
If he was picked from the Knights, I don't reckon anyone has a problem with it.
And if he was playing the same amount of, or say, more footy, I think it would be way less contentious. But it is what it is, and I think this is his moment. And as Sundar said, he very well could make a massive impact and just reaffirm himself as a person for that utility jersey.
And I think the best thing about this is Connor Watson is genuinely one of the best blokes in rugby league. Like,
you speak very highly of him.
I've got so much time for Connor as a bloke. He is just unreal. He has the amount of stuff he does for charity and all like that. Some you hear about it, a lot of it you don't though. Connor's got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies and does a lot of very good things for a lot of people out there. So he's probably right up there with my favourite player in the league at the moment. I've got really all the time in the world for Connor. He's a legend.
And I think there's a lot of pressure these days for players to be more than footy players, right? There's so much pressure to have a presence outside of the game. But when somebody is doing too much of something, there's criticism. So it's finding that balance. But I think, to your point, Connor Watson's done a really good job of having a personality outside of the game that is more philanthropic. You're giving back. Whoa, I know, big word. Sorry.
Holy.
Well, I stuffed it
Dumb
up.
it down for me.
He gives to charity.
What did she just call
spends
me?
time.
Love that.
But I think it's really nice to speak highly of him and to talk about what he does outside of the game
good
as well.
fella, Connor.
Yeah. All right, another one. Fermor should have been picked over Capewell. This is from Isaac. And this, I just want to note that this also has multiple thumbs up, this comment. So people agree.
And I think this once again comes back to picking someone on your bench that can play multiple positions.
Yeah.
And Kurt Capewell, like some of the stuff he's done in Origin has been unbelievable. I remember there was one series where he got picked at centre and he had to mark Turbo and we're all like, Turbo's going to run over him. He's going to kill him. And man, Kurt always stood up. Now, my big concern is that was 3 and 4 years ago now. Kurt's a lot older. He's over at the Warriors. I think he's played 70 minutes of footy in the last 10 weeks or something like that.
I think I've almost played more than that.
Close to. If I gave you a 71-minute head start, you'd be in front. It's just not a lot of footy to play. And even last year when he was at the Broncos, I think the Broncos have really missed his experience. But I just think he has slowed down a lot. I think he's had a lot of injuries over the last few years. I think age has sort of started to catch up on Kurt Capewell a little bit. And I don't know, if I'm completely honest, it's a pick that I really don't like and I can't really make sense of it. I'm expecting Dane Gagai to take his spot.
Yeah.
Why Billy Slater would play mind games like that, I don't know. But I think the other thing that we need to remember with State of Origin is that it's all about just doing things that you didn't know you were capable of doing and doing things that people never expected you to be able to do. And Billy Slater's got this incredible record of picking guys and going, I back you, I've got your back, and they'll perform for him. And I wouldn't surprise me if Dane Gagai is one of those guys, but I agree. I think Beau Fermor, I think he's been playing really good footy this year. He came back from injury last year. Got injured last year. The year before that, I personally thought he was right on the cusp of representing the Queensland Maroons. If you had to play one of them at centre, I'd rather play Beau Fermor. Honestly, if I had to pick which one would worry me more as a New South Welshman, it's Beau Fermor. But Kurt Capewell has got the runs on the board. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting pick that sort of just came. Like we obviously had in the Roo crew the Queensland team the night before it was named, and I was given it and I was pretty confident that was the team. But even to me, I was like, man, this Capewell thing seems out of the blue and no one else was reporting it or anything, which credit to Queensland that just about nothing leaked in the lead up to it. It was unbelievable. But, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but I just know that Billy Slater will get something out of Kurt Capewell, which shits me to no end. But I think Beau Fermor would have been a great pick. I think Kurt Mann from the Canterbury Bulldogs, if you're looking for a utility, I think he would have been a great pick. Once again, though, if you're looking for an incredible athlete that could play second row or centre, they have got Dave Fafita they could have picked, and Slater's gone, no, standards first. What those standards are, I don't know, and I'm sure everyone inside Queensland camp would know, and as per usual, nothing is fucking leaked whatsoever. But, yeah, I think it's a very interesting pick. Did the Kurt Capewell one surprise you?
Oh, definitely. And I think, once again, it's this whole Dave Fafita debate, I guess, that's been going on. Or it's not even a debate because I feel like
it's not a debate because we don't hear anything.
Yeah, nothing. It's just nothing. It's radio silence in terms of Dave Fifita, where he sits with this current Origin side, what his relationship is like with Billy Slater. I think there's a lot to unpack here. We saw Fifita pull out last minute of that Roosters contract to stay at the Titans. I think potentially there's some fallout there. There's some collateral damage, and maybe there has been some relationship issues going on with different people, but it also could just be as straightforward as it is, which is just a pick for State of Origin. But I don't know. I've got suspicions that there's other stuff going on here.
I think there's definitely I think that in Billy's mind, as it should be, being a Queenslander, there's certain standards that come with that and certain ways you carry yourself. And I don't think Billy appreciated the way that he carried himself. And this is, I've got no mail, nothing. This is just me eyeballing the situation.
Yeah, opinions.
If you're leaving the best and most dominant back rower out of your Origin side after what he's just been through, and, you know, you do need to keep in mind with Dave Fifita, this also isn't the first time his contract has turned into a fucking circus.
Yeah, no, the backflip.
I reckon Slater's just gone, nah. I'm not about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but I think to Fifita's credit too, he is a lot younger than people realise, and because he's such a unit, you assume he's 28 or something, but he's not. He's 23 years old, and to go through contract negotiations and to change your mind, it's something that people do in every single job. People change their mind, but when it's high profile and everybody's talking about it, there's a lot more weight on your decision. And I think whatever happened there is a whole other thing to unpack, and it's really interesting, and I'd love to know what made him backflip and kind of what actually transpired, but I guess we'll never know.
And you do make a good point. Like he's not 28, but like 23, 20, and like I think the thing that would frustrate Billy is that he's been through this 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
And every time has been a circus. It just feels like he hasn't learnt from it, but I reckon he will now.
Yeah, hypothetically, had Fifita gone ahead with this Roosters move and there were no backtracks on contract, none of that.
Well, you got to remember as well, from my understanding, even if he went to the Roosters, he still backtracked on the Panthers because they were pretty confident they had him. So and that's where I think he's
okay. So it's deeper.
I think it's a lot deeper. I think there's a lot to it, and I think as well, the fact that he's dicked around a Queensland club. Because you got to remember as well, like DCE, when he did the same thing, when he backflipped on the Titans, like he fell out of favour with Queensland for a long time.
Yeah.
Like that's very quickly, and I know they had a good side back then, but he was the 14, he fell out of favour. Now he's back in it, he's earned his time. And I think Fifita will earn his way back into that,
I think so
fold.
Too.
But yeah, I just think it sends a strong message from Slater. You make your tackles, you do all the shit I need you to do, but you need to be a certain individual to be a Queenslander, and that's what really scares me as a New South Welshman, those standards that they have. Because you know that when Fifita gets his opportunity eventually, he's not going to let anything slip or leave any stone unturned, which worries me a lot.
Yeah, it adds a lot of spice to the conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you wonder why Melbourne was so successful for so long. You wonder why that Queensland side won 8 series in a row. It's that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's the politics, but it fuels everything else.
Yeah. Billy Slater told a story the other day that when he was in Queensland camp, so him, Cam Smith, Cooper Cronk, whoever else was in there, they used to do a thing with the Melbourne Storm that I think if they made like X amount of errors on the Monday morning, they had to get up and like go down to the local beach for like a 5 a.m. swim in the freezing cold as like punishment as a team. And the Origin boys were in camp and they didn't play in the game for Melbourne, obviously. But Melbourne made the error, so the team had to go to the beach and go for a swim or whatever. And Cam Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, they took themselves to a local beach at 5 a.m. to do the same punishment, even though they weren't. Like, it's just that sort of shit that just makes them different. Like, the story was something along those lines, which is just crazy, insane.
Yeah, because if that was me, I'm sleeping in that 100%.
Morning. And the old saying, you want to do great things, you got to do things that people aren't willing to do. And that's what these guys have always done. It's insane.
Aren't you glad you watched the Catch-Up?
Tell me about
listened to the Catch-Up today, because I don't know about you, I'm walking away very inspired by these Phil Gould anecdotes over here. Okay, now this one I really like. This is from Jenko, and I might also just add my own hot take on top of this. But so my hot take is that the late call-ups, if we're going to call it that, the late call-ups for Game 2 for New South Wales will be our best players. So we heard about Connor Watson. I think Latrell will be a standout for us as well. And I think Mitch Moses is going to make a huge difference from Game 1. And then Jenko here said Trell first and last try scorer. Thoughts?
Yeah, if Trell scores the first try, that'll just bring so much energy. I can't think we lose. I don't think we possibly lose from there. I think if in this game, if we start well, I think we can put on a bit of a score here. I genuinely do. I think Mitch Moses coming in, he'll just give us the direction that we need. Latrell, as much as I have my concerns in defence that Slater will have a plan for him, if Latrell is the best player on the field in attack, he can do enough to absolutely blow this team away, especially if Val Holmes is marking him, who's had his troubles over the years, over the last few weeks, a huge test for Val Holmes. I think one of the negatives with Latrell is that if you pick him, a lot of it centers on him, and if he is shut down or if they do target him and they get the better of him, you could find yourself in trouble. But the positive is that if he gets on the front foot and he does well, we pretty much don't lose with Latrell in our footy side because he's that fucking good. And once again, on big stages, Latrell delivers time and time and time again. So as much as I have my concerns, just because I'm so scared of what a coach like Billy Slater, the plan he'll have for Latrell, that worries me, but I also know that Latrell can win a game of football off the top of his head at any given moment. And if we start well and Latrell's thriving on that left edge, especially when you got a guy like Jerome Luai inside him who's just all energy, that edge, Toto, Angus Crichton, Latrell, like they're all energy down there.
I agree.
They're humming.
The level of Luai's footy when he plays Origin is insane. I saw some meme the other day that was just like he plays like an immortal. He is just he's just so good, and I just trust him to support Latrell in whatever way that he needs it. But I just hope Trell plays the way he's been playing the last 2 games for South Sydney because he's taken no prisoners.
And you know what? That's the beauty of this with Latrell. Like, he actually doesn't. All he has to do is run the ball fucking hard.
Yes.
Like, it's very simple, but it will be so effective. And yeah, I don't know. I was a lot more nervous a couple of days ago about Latrell, but I'm the closer we get, the more I'm just like, I reckon he is going to absolutely fucking brain it in this game.
The more footy he's played post that first game, the more confident I felt that I do think he was playing for that jersey. And I do think he was trying to prove a point, and I think the point was proven. And he sat next to Madge at that event and he got that jersey, and now he's just got to show everyone why he needed it in the first place. Yeah. And I said it on Bloke yesterday. You talk about like something that's not good for footy sides, and normally it's noise. Yeah. But Latrell, I'm not sure if there's a more noisy player ever, but he just loves it. He just fucking loves it. Do you know what I've noticed about Trell? Because I follow his socials as well, like his TikToks. He posted a TikTok recently that had a voiceover that was like essentially about proving your haters wrong. You know, that people are always going to doubt you. It's what you do, how you back yourself up and believe in yourself. And it's that whole sentiment of that he knows people are talking absolute smack about him. Yeah. And we know that too. You see it all the time. Yeah. But he feels it. Yeah, he feels it. Yeah. And but I think his response to it is so interesting to me because it's like you said, sometimes the more hype, the more negativity around him, the more he can just turn that narrative around. And I think in 20, 30 years' time, like I always say, the NRL, we're about 15, 20 years behind what's normal in the NFL. And all the players have that mindset over there. And I actually think Latrell, I think now what he does is a little bit out there and it sort of rattles cages and we're not really used to it. I reckon in 20, 30 years, so many of the players, and like you're already seeing it sort of with these Panthers boys. Oh, yeah. And so I reckon it's going to become more and more the norm, and I reckon we'll look back at Latrell and what some of the things he does, which to be honest with you, I don't completely agree with all of them. Some of them shit me to no end, so some of the things he does. But I do think it will be more and more the norm as we head into the future. And once again, as always in rugby league, if you can back it up, do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. Look at these Panthers boys. And so far throughout his career, Latrell's had his moments where he hasn't backed it up and people want to jump on him for those all the time. But he's had a lot of moments where he has backed it up. He's had more moments where he's backed it up than what most players have in their career. And he's 25? Yeah, something like 6 maybe.
And if you have a look strictly at his record at centre, he's a 2-time premiership winner where he was top 2 or 3 players on the field in both of those. Came up with the big play in the grand final against the Raiders. The flick pass to win that grand final. The grand final against the Melbourne Storm. He went up against Will Chambers, who was, in my opinion, the best centre of the last 10 years. And he absolutely bullied him. And Latrell was a teenager at that point. You look at Origin when he's played centre, he has just absolutely ruined Queensland. So... yeah, it's a big opportunity for Latrell to come in and save the state and just
be that
take
guy.
His legacy to another level.
Be him.
Be Latrell.
Be him.
Yeah, this is brand Latrell. This is you're all talking about me. I'm talking about me. Give me the football. It's all I can do.
Let me prove you wrong.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think that's exciting, but it's also a lot of pressure on him.
Fuck yeah,
which we know he responds to well, but I always have this nervousness that he's just going to walk out there and just like capitulate.
Yeah, and that is my concern because I do think he is going to get targeted a lot more than what people are talking about. I think that Billy Slater's going to have a plan for him.
Yes.
I think they will try and gas him out very early. And if things don't go away early, I'm expecting them just to – we call it getting stuck in the washing machine where you get a guy at marker and you just keep him there so he's always moving and he's always alert. Normally at centre you get to sort of sit back and just observe a little bit. But if I reckon they'll have a game plan to really go heavy down that right-hand side. Wouldn't surprise me if they let Hamiso come from the left over to the right so there's just more decisions to be made there.
Yeah.
And I reckon, I remember watching years ago, Kat, and it's a little bit different, but I was at an Origin in Brisbane and Aaron Woods and Andrew Fafita were playing for New South Wales and Queensland just came with a plan and they said it during the week. Cam Smith said, I'm going to run from dummy half all night. And I sat directly behind the post, so I had the aerial view, and just every single time they got Fafita or Woods at marker, Cam Smith and Billy Slater would just run, and they would keep them there, and they just gassed them out the entire night. And I know Latrell's a centre, not a front row forward, but he's a big boy who, you know, he doesn't do as much work as a fullback as what other fullbacks in this league do because he can do other things that they can't. But that's the only thing I worry about, that they get him at marker and they keep him there and they just keep him just repeat effort at high speed efforts. Because that's the other thing as well, like up until the last 2 weeks, like the pace that the Rabbitohs have been playing at this year is so far off the top of the NRL and is so far off Origin. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
I think it all comes down to that first 20 minutes. I think you'll know very quickly how New South Wales is travelling.
Yeah. Oh, I'm nervous. All right, what's your hot take?
My hot take is that I think we can win this game and win well. And I don't know how much, like we're obviously outsiders in this game, but I actually think your take's a really good one. I think the new guys come in and do really well. Yeah. I think you'll know in the first 20 minutes how it's going to play out with us. I think that we either start well and we're fast and we're on top and everything's sort of going our way or it could be very difficult. I'm going to say we win this by about 18 points.
Oh,
yeah.
That's very nice.
We've got more to play for, more to prove. We've got guys who have come into the side with plenty to prove. Dill Edwards coming in for his debut. Connor Watson, he's been proving people wrong forever. Latrell Mitchell loves nothing more than to prove people wrong. Mitch Moses, it's bizarre. Mitch Moses, like for me, he was the obvious choice at halfback when Nath Cleary was out. Then Moses was out, so Nico Hines was the obvious choice. But people have hated Mitch Moses his entire career, and then it's all of a sudden in the last year or two, people have changed their narrative on him. And I feel like Mitch is one of those guys that still has a big chip on his shoulder. And I like that about Mitch.
Yeah, no, I see that too.
I love that about Mitch.
I see that too.
Yeah.
But I think similar to Trell, he feeds off the negativity
100%.
and he loves to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's what sets apart a footy player at that level. I think if you let those voices take over and you let that impact your game, you will never be at a Latrell or a Mitch Moses level. You'll never be picked for things that they're picked for. And there's ego involved, right? The hit to the ego to not be picked for game 1, but then to fight for game 2 and then to show up and play your best footy. There's a lot of ego battles there, I think. And it's exciting to see what they're going to do.
I'm a big believer in to do big things, you need egos. And I think ego, the word, has a very negative connotation, especially with people in rugby league. But you can't achieve the things that these guys achieve. You can't put yourself through the things these guys put them through without having an ego.
No.
You need it. And I think that, if you're going to, And I know it's really easy to tear guys down that have got an ego when it's not going their way, but the only reason why you're talking about them is because they achieve a lot of big things. And they achieve big things because they've got big egos. Latrell's one of those. Mitch Moses, probably not to the same extent, but I still think like Latrell's obviously a big one, but I don't see that as a negative. I love that he's got that about him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think ego is both good and bad, but you use it to your advantage.
Fucking
and
oath,
if the negativity feeds that ego to show up and show up better than before, then by all means let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to look any further than the Penrith Panthers. They're probably the most egotistic side I've ever seen in football, but they back it the fuck up.
Yeah.
And they love that you hate them.
Yeah. And do you know what? I will just counteract that with Nathan Cleary is the least egotistical footy player I've ever met. I think he carries himself with so much confidence, but he's that defining difference between having a strong ego like a Latrell or a Mitch Moses or, you know, a Jerome Luai, for example, and just being confident in knowing what you bring to the table. But he doesn't let that. I think it translates really well off the field.
I don't think Nath shows his ego.
No, I'm sure he's got one.
Oh, he's got one.
Yeah.
And he needs one.
Yeah.
He's on a path to try and be the greatest player of all time. You'd want to have a fucking ego.
Yeah.
Joey had an ego too. Joey is the most egotistic bloke of all time. Like he will just openly bag dudes and give shit to them that he played with, and we all love it because it's Joey. And I love it too. But like you can't love it for Joey, you hate it for Latrell.
No. But I just think it's such an interesting way of looking at
100%,
personalities in the game. Like who really does have that standout ego and it fuels them, and then who hides that ego really well.
Yeah, for sure. I use the example on the weekend. And, you know, I wouldn't call it having an ego, but just having the confidence to do your thing. Brad Schneider fucking sprayed Liam Martin. Like he's a reserve grader, Brad Schneider, coming into first grade to fill in for injuries, and he sprang the Australian back rower. And if you look after he gave him that spray, Liam Martin had a cracker of a game against the Knights. So Origin footy, it's good. It's good gear. Good. It's fantastic. I'm excited, Kat Mendo.
So am I. I love State of Origin, and I like that this one's in Melbourne, so it's an excuse to turn on the TV and just watch it in 4K. I can't wait.
I think that's the one thing that I do like. Like I think there's going to be a lot of media attention around Latrell this week, as there should be. I do kind of like that it's in Melbourne, so it won't be as
intense
in your face.
Yeah.
It'll still be pretty heavy, but I just think it's probably for the best. One, that it's not in fucking Brisbane, and two, probably that it's not in Sydney as well. It's probably not a bad result for it to be in Melbourne.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, Guru, thank you so much for joining me for this Origin special of the Catch-Up, talking all things hot takes from the Roo Crew. And obviously, if you want to join the Roo Crew, there is a link in bio. Get around it. There's so much extra content. We just thought that this week Catch-Up could be a little bit different, something a bit more fun, because we just love an Origin chat. Let's be real.
Might as well lean into the hot topics this week and what everyone's interested in. I like
exactly.
it. Shout out to people in the Roo Crew. Links in the description if you would like to join us in there. There is also the link for the 2-for-1 tickets for Thursday night, the CBA Bowl, State of Origin, under-19s, New South Wales versus Queensland over there at Leichhardt Oval. Food trucks incoming. Looking forward to it. See you on Thursday night, Kat.
Yeah, I'm excited. See you on the hill.
On the hill. Feel the hill. Love that.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And if there's ever a topic that you want us to dive into in a bit more detail like this, feel free to let us know and we can do that, because I think we love any kind of chance to just go on a bit of a tangent. It's always a good time. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.